Again, welcome everyone. Nice to see everyone's face weekly. It's nice. Um, we've got someone just saved. Anyway, I've got the meeting notes posted in Slack. For you add yourself to the attending list if you'd like. General format as we kind of go through. We don't really have too much of an agenda today, but if there's any items, just kind of put them up there, like discussion items or everything go on, and then we kind of go through people and just either give a quick report of what we've been up to recently, or an introduction, or if you want, you don't need to, if you don't have anything to say, don't worry about it. No pressure. So with that, I'll try to get into some, I don't have any agenda items per se. I brought up last week, but I think we're going to do I was going to host another Friday afternoon session this week for people who'd like to stop by and have a Friday afternoon happy hour coding party thing, whatever you guys want to do. But I'll put up a link Friday around 4 p.m. Pacific time. So you're welcome to join. Does anyone have any kind of agenda items they'd like to put up for discussion at some point after the quick reports?
Can we maybe do a quick round of introductions? I don't know Ben, and I'm sure Ben doesn't necessarily know everyone sure. Here, so it might be nice to say hello.
Sure, yeah. I can introduce myself first. I'm a geophysicist by training. I did my undergrad with Dom, so that era, and yeah, I've been working in industry for some of the normal players there, Frontier, Precision. Last job was at Computational GeoSci.xyz, and I did my master's at Memorial with Colin Farquharson. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks. What are you looking to get out of SimPEG?
Well, I just started at Mira with Dom, and yeah, I'm just gonna hopefully get familiarized with SimPEG, and yeah, we're kind of building the capabilities within the analyst product. So yeah, need to get comfortable.
Oh, always welcome contributions. My name's Joe Capriati. I'm a postdoc at UBC under Doug. I'm just generally working on improving SimPEG. With some sort of targeted projects coming up. Developing open source resources and improving them, basically. Cool. I did my undergraduate in Colorado School of Mines under Yago.
Okay, nice. Do you know Michael Dunham by any chance?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Graduates I taught when I was TAing.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, he was my office mate over at Memorial.
Fun. Cool.
I guess I can go next.
Sure.
I'm Devin Cowan. I did a master's with Doug a little while ago, and since then I've been continuing to work with Doug. And I guess some of the stuff I've been working on now is I'm in charge of the maintenance and organization of the UBC GIF codes and GIF tools. So that's a portion of my job. And then I'm also working to develop things, utilities, anything useful for SimPEG.
Okay.
I think you kind of gave a half introduction.
Sure. Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm be starting up at UBC as an assistant professor in the summer. I did my PhD at UBC previously, and then was at UC Berkeley for a postdoc, working with folks on the Jupyter team and in the stats department. So interested in pushing forward on geophysical inversions and data science.
Cool. Yeah.
See, I'm assuming it's already.
Yeah.
Mike, introduce yourself.
Sure, yeah. I'm Mike. I did my PhD up at UBC with Doug and a lot of other folks. I'm now down in California working, doing a postdoc with the U.S. Geological Survey. Mostly just looking at a volcanic field up at the kind of the north end of the Napa wine district, and trying to see if we can image any zones of partial melt.
Cool.
Indeed.
Did you point out to me?
Yeah, just go ahead. Introduce
Yeah,
yourself.
that's fine. I'm Dieter. I'm a postdoc at TU Delft in the Netherlands, working here with Evert Slob in electromagnetics. And beside this, we're pretty much on our own. But when it comes to electromagnetics in our department, so I'm very happy to have a home here, an EM community to bang my head with questions and doubts and just generally some exchange of ideas and thoughts. So, yeah.
Nice.
Doug, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, I'm Doug. I'm racking my brains, Ben. I think we've crossed paths in a number of different ways, but
Yeah, yeah.
Did you take 350?
I did, but that was the year. I think Felix Herman taught that year, right? That's the sort of physical properties.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think I caught a Felix year. But yeah, I've seen you at yeah, most recently, I guess, at Roundup, attached to one of the kegs meetings, I believe,
Oh, okay. And then
or maybe the symposium. Yeah.
you're working for Mira now, are you?
Yeah, yeah,
Excellent.
that's right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're well placed because you've experienced a lot of the geophysical groups in the lower.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah.
you kind of
Yeah.
know the lay of the land.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Oh, good. Well, we look forward to working with you.
Thanks. Yeah, likewise.
Todd, do you mind introducing yourself? I know you came in late here, but it's got a new voice. I mean, friendly face.
Yeah, I think I met you maybe. Your face looked familiar with me, so I'm not sure whether we have maybe encountered in the fourth floor. Anyway, I'm Soggy. I did a PhD with Doug and in Stanford University now, working with Rosemary Knight for environmental geophysics. Yeah, I'm mainly focusing on groundwater in California. Yeah,
Nice.
it's great to see you.
Yeah, you as well. Yeah. I think Dom has introduced us probably at one point or another.
No, it's not because we're all white, so we all look the same.
That's not true. I have a very sensitive eye to distinguish people.
I trust you.
Okay. Moving on. I think we should get into some quick reports now. So I can go first. Remember to add yourself to the notes if you'd like to discuss anything. I can go first here. So I've got a pull request up on Discretize right now. Just add some simple vector plotting for tree meshes, built off of what Dom had worked on with the quiver plots. Just uses it for just a quiver plotting of vectors on cell centers, essentially. I also just wrote some quick tests to make sure that it at least ran for every type of input. I didn't necessarily look at the outputs, but at least it runs for all of them, and it doesn't like break. So just to take a quick look, if you don't mind. I wasn't really quite sure what to set up as far as like the defaults, so I just left them as the defaults for Quiver. The same thing, same way that we have a stream plot option or streamline option. We have it's a Quiver ops keyword argument for that as well.
What's the PR number?
I don't remember. I'll drop a link in there. It's just, I think it's just the most recent one on Discretize. Thanks, Dieter, for trying out the properties, the D properties branch, seeing if anything's broken. It's nice having a little bit of discussion there.
Yeah, thanks for doing it. I think because I'm also reworking the docs as you do for discretize, and then it looks a bit, yeah, nasty with the properties in it.
It does. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's good. And then the other thing is, Soggy, if you get a chance, I'd really appreciate if you could look at the IP pull request bug fix, just to double check. I don't think anything went wrong, but just appreciate another set of eyes on it.
Joe, are you talking about the IP stuff? Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, there's a bug fix branch on it that happened. So to fix a bug on the apparently the study that got pulled in at some point.
Yeah, I took a look. I made some reviews actually in the morning. So yeah, sorry for being late. But it looked great. I made minor comments, Joe.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't see that. You just came through my email. Thank you. Well, that's all I've got. Other than that, I'm working on some paper reviews and getting here. Lindsay, I see you're listed next on this. Go right ahead.
Sure, thanks, Joe. Just a quick note that I'm giving a talk tomorrow for it's a research group or like research collaboration, mostly in with universities in Quebec. It's grad students who are in sort of sustainability science, and they were curious to get a talk on kind of open science. So I'll be talking a bit about sort of SimPEG and GeoSci as an example, and then some examples kind of from the broader like Python and Jupyter ecosystems. So if anyone's curious, or if you want to take a look at the slides and provide any feedback, I'm certainly would appreciate any. It's tomorrow it'll be 10 a.m. Pacific. And then the other thing I just wanted to like make a note of is I'm doing some work looking at the impacts of magnetic permeability in EM. And so if you come across data sets or examples or things like that where you've got questions about that, I'd be happy to chat and yeah, curious to hear about any other examples or applications folks have in mind.
Are you talking about static magnetic permeability or frequency dependent?
For now, just looking at it as a scalar, but potentially we could go down that road a bit later. But yeah, for now, independent of frequency, just looking at what are the impacts in EM data. That's it for me. Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Do you have any track on the amount of talks you're giving? I'm sometimes puzzled at the sheer output of talks.
My calendar keeps track of them for me. You know, thankfully we've got that SimPEG Google Drive folder with all of the talks. It makes it much easier to pull things together. Yeah, but it is quite a few.
Cool. So Dom.
Yeah, not much big development, but you know, Ben being here, I guess we should talk about the kind of the big picture, that what we're trying to do at Mira. So we forked the current status of SimPEG onto the Mira Geoscience Git account. And the goal of that is just that we can, we can do dev on our side without cluttering too much branches. I think SimPEG should try to trim out as many branches as possible, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be working kind of like in a parallel track to the main SimPEG. You know, our goal is to constantly, you know, pull and push stuff back and forth between the two repos. Because we're probably going to be working mostly on IO stuff for the GeoH5 format. And then, you know, testing, you know, more like parallelization efficiencies, that kind of stuff. So, so yeah, we'll be working basically on our own Git account while keeping track of everything's happening here. And yeah, that's about it.
Where did you intend to put those utilities, Dom?
You mean for the IO stuff?
Yeah, was the way that it's set up now. We're basically putting everything in SimPEG utils, IO utils.
Yeah.
And so I guess it would be good if you are making those to kind of come up with a place that's in line with the structure of that before going for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we still need to scope out the, you know, the plan, the action plans, but I have the feeling that if we're going to do IOs for GeoH5, it would probably be on our side, you know, you'd be basically importing a GeoH5 library, GeoH5 or whatever. I'm not sure if SimPEG really needs it. We'll scope it out, we'll figure it out, and then we can have a talk, right? Because before we merge anything into the main SimPEG, we'll need to talk, right? Because some of it might make more sense on our side versus the main one. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just know that there is a place for it, and I guess I'm doing some development on that, trying to have all the IO for all the UBC GIF formatted stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
There is a bit of a plan, so hopefully we put it in the same place.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Where we'll follow your lead on that part. That's it for me.
Cool. That's good. What next? Mike.
I guess, I mean, nothing too exciting from my side. Yesterday I was playing around with and talking with Joe a little bit about, I had this function that I wrote originally for the tensor mesh that basically just allowed you to, if you were doing like a synthetic inversion, you could basically pass your synthetic, like your true model, to this code, and it would go through and it would basically pick out the boundaries of all of the structures in your synthetic model. And then you could use that as an overlay onto your inversion section, just to show the boundaries of the true structures. And so I have that for the tensor mesh. I mean, I obviously don't know if it's the best way to do it or how optimized it is, but it works. And so yesterday I was trying to kind of make another version of that would work on tree meshes. So Joe was helping me a little bit with that. It's close. There's still something scrambled in the ordering. So it looks like a bit of a nightmare right now, but I'm sure I'll get that figured out here today, probably, hopefully. So I was just wondering, more than anything else, is there a place in SimPEG for a plotting utility such as that? And if so, where would be a good place for that to live?
I mean, if it would live anywhere, I think it'd probably be more likely discretized. I think it'd probably be useful to have something that, you know, picks out the boundaries, like a general model, because it's something we could use to enforce. It could just be like a general utility. It's okay. We want to, you know, define boundaries to define like the faces to find you know, for boundary conditions. Like, okay, we've got a model, like just kind of simple utility of cells, like active cells versus inactive cells. I want to identify the boundary between them or something. So I think something like that would kind of, like that part of it would probably be really useful inside of discretized. The plotting part of it.
I think it might go in model utils.
I think it should just be an argument that you can also plot faces, right? Face values on the sections. You just expand the current plotting functions to just be able to plot boundaries. Because I agree with Joe, like we were talking about it last week, right? Regularization, you should be able to take face weights. So we need a function at what you're doing right now, Mike, to be able to go from a unit model to a faces so that we can put weights, right? We don't have that functionality right now.
I think the approach I'm taking right now might be a little different than what we would use for that probably. Because I'm literally just like grabbing the faces that have kind of a non-zero gradient in that synthetic model.
But that's
and
it.
Then, yeah, so I guess it depends on how we want to plot that and what's the best way to try to then visualize those faces.
But I think you should just tease it apart, right? The functionality that you've written to get those faces, that's one function, right? And then the plotting is another function, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. And then there's another separate one just to grab your section too. Because I think right now our kind of the generalized code to grab the section is kind of embedded within a plotting code as well.
Yeah, the one that like goes and like, okay, I want to make a slice of a tree mesh. And what does it look like? It's pretty involved, but it's like, we could probably make that a little bit,
Yeah,
get out of there as well and make it general, because it's used multiple places. It comes up more often than that.
yeah. After you pointed me to that, I just kind of made a local copy in my notebook and kind of extracted what I think I needed. But
it's a neat little trick to do it. If you guys haven't looked, what it essentially does is it goes through and it generates like this fine 2D tensor mesh, and like finds all of the unique cells that intersect this 2D tensor mesh in like a 3D in the 3D tree mesh. So it checks all those unique cells, it gets all of their locations and their like tree levels, and then it creates a new tree mesh that inserts all of those unique cells at that level. So it creates like an exact like tree mesh slice of the block tree, and then interpolates between them. Basically, it's a neat little trick.
yeah, no, it looked pretty slick and it's pretty fast too. Like the full 3D mesh that I was working on in slicing is not is not a particularly dainty mesh. So I was impressed by how speedy it was.
So Mike, when you say you're finding the boundaries, is this of a like a rock model in which you've got particular units, or is this already a smooth inversion, and then you're going to define a boundary wherever your gradient is sufficiently large? Or how are you, under what circumstances are you finding boundaries?
I mean, right now it's just on like synthetic models that we've built. So they have like there's sharp edges between the different units of different conductivities. So it's just kind of, picking out sharp boundaries in synthetic models is all I was using it for right now.
Cool. Well, hopefully we got at least somewhat of a path. I'm not really quite sure where to put the plotting part of it yet. At least if we start teasing out some of those things, it'll make it a little bit easier.
Exactly. Yeah, sounds good.
I just wanted to flag too, I put a link in the notes to a notebook. Dieter and I talked about this, but for the paper with Dieter, we had a very large sort of underlying mesh or very large model on a uniform mesh and designed a tree mesh from that. So I've also got some code for that sort of thing. So if that's of use, feel free to scrape that.
Next on there, I see Devin has a small request.
Yeah, just want to keep things rolling on that pull request that I had. I think it's more or less ready for a review. Yeah, I'd like to get that in and then finish that project. So.
I know I went through and added a bunch of my comments on it over the weekend.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess just let me know when your review of it is done and I can make some of the changes. I think it's really just finishing touches at this point, but maybe you have something more significant in there.
I mean, there's a, I mean, I don't know if it's significant, but they're just kind of like, it's a lot of repeated things that I think should be you like should have been used from other areas, or there's like, it's like we create a list of ABMN locations, and we have like the same copy code like 4 or 5 times to make it into a survey. And I think we just have like we do have like a, create survey from ABMN function.
I think we might have at some point. I have to look at that. There was also, I know, some utilities in there that we wanted to fix, but then they're actually more generalizable. So there were some things that I decided to leave out because I think that they could be moved to a place that's like used for just globally within SimPEG. But yeah, I agree with you that ABMN locations stuff and creating a survey from ABMN locations, I think there's a utility that we could make that would just do that and could be called from other things.
I think there is already one somewhere.
Yeah, I thought there was at some point as well.
But I've already gone through and added a bunch of the review comments, and I think I put them onto I added them and then published them. I basically went through all of the at least the SimPEG changes first, and then I went through. I didn't have a chance to go through all the tutorials just yet.
Okay, well, just yeah, that's great. I mean, let me know when you're done. I'll take a look at them.
I would say start on trying to address some of the SimPEG ones first.
Okay.
We're gonna get surround sound soggy here.
Sorry, I'm just having like a very hard time with extremely terrible internet access, and that somebody is like cleaning outside the house. So yeah, it was pretty hectic. But nothing at this. I don't have nothing particular to update. I reviewed Joe's IP pull request. Deb, sorry, I haven't had a chance to review the SimPEG EM1D stuff, but I would like to do so. I'll do that in this week. And other thing, I went to a conference yesterday called it was a focus on environmental geophysics. I'll share the link, and they probably upload their recordings later. And it was quite diverse, but there were some interesting conversation about kind of thinking about like open source software and also integrating different disciplines and how the geophysics can play a role there and what are the challenges. So I really enjoyed, and so I was hoping to kind of share that conference stuff with you guys. But yeah, anyway, I'll share the link.
So, okay, what is going to be your tutorial at Transform? I saw geologist in the title and inversion, so I was curious.
All right, Peter, thanks for bringing that up because I need to put things together. It's still like a rough idea, but I'll share the kind of outline later. But the idea is, yes, I'm kind of targeted to geologists, but I changed the title to inversion for geoscientists just to make it a little bit broader. Because I'm still not sure who are the major audience of that Transform 21. So my expectation was generally
anyone,
kind of geologists or like somebody who doesn't necessarily have a good background about geophysics as well as the inversion. So the idea was showing 2 examples, one in mining. So I'm thinking about using the mining deposit called Raglan. I haven't inverted yet, but I'm going to. And that could kind of show like a general idea about what are the challenges in inversion, like, okay, what is the non-uniqueness, and how we put a relevant constraint to find a good solution or multiple solutions. Yes, I was just trying to focus on mental model, like, okay, how we're setting up an inverse problem, what are the major challenges? Obviously, we're doing a data-driven solution, but that's not enough. So we need to put some sort of relevant knowledge, and that's the connection point with geophysicists as well as with the other a geoscientist. And so I think that was sort of the general idea, and then showing one mining example and one groundwater example to kind of show a big picture idea. Anyway, so that was a kind of general idea, but I haven't spent the time yet to actually generate an example. So that's where am I.
Oh, that's cool. I think the audience from last year's experience, there will be a lot of students. There will be many experienced ones as well. So yeah, I think it's cool. I'll probably get in touch with you soon to have a test recording. If I'm the one going to host you, it looks like, well, yeah, looking forward to it.
What are the dates of that again?
About in 4 weeks, soon.
Yeah, it's like a mid-April, I think.
Yes. 19th, well, the hackathon starts on the 16th of April, 16th, 17th, 18th, and then 19th to the 23rd are the tutorials with the AGM on Wednesday for the ones interested in a general meeting of Swan.
So since you brought up the hackathon, is there anything you're wanting to target with it, or just kind of?
Well, it would be cool if you could get this subsurface. I haven't looked at it in detail. I mean, it's mainly Miguel who worked on it, but if you could make similar to the mix-ins for VTK, if you could make mix-ins to export and import to and from subsurface through discretize, I think that would make the most sense. That would be cool.
Cool. Yeah.
At least some, it doesn't have to be everything from the start, but let's say a model from GeoSci to discretize through subsurface, or then to Fatiando or to PyGimli or whatever, something like this.
Yeah.
No idea how feasible it is, but Miguel says he's ready, so we should do our part, hopefully.
Sounds good.
And then with your plans for having a tetrahedral mesh and the interaction with PyGimli through subsurface, that would be straight the blast from one to the other.
Something to hack away at tetrahedral mesh. Love to get triangular and tech mesh.
Peter, can you update on what's the status on the subsurface?
Yeah, so what they did implement through GeoSci is just different objects, so you say. So like point data, I think line data like well logs, sections, surfaces, 3D models, and defined how they are. So we would just have to look into that and see how we can load it and export to that in discretize, and then Satiando and Leo, they probably do the same for Harmonica at least, and some from PyGimli will do the same for PyGimli. And if everybody does it on their own package, then it should be straightforward to just move it along. And then maybe that would have to go to subsurface too. Things like OMF or GeoH5Py, the definition how you store it on disk. They're not necessarily the same, right? One is how you pass it along, and the other is how you store it to disk. Maybe Dom is coming in there.
Well, no, but I was saying if we, for SimPEG itself, if we do that connection, then we could technically start using PyVista a lot easier for our plotting stuff, right? Without having to constantly rewrite the conversion. We just convert to that file format, and then Bain takes it and then puts it in PyVista.
Yes, he will be part as well, and hopefully make the link to subsurface. Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
I look forward to kind of getting back in with the transform. It was definitely a fun time last time. So. Good. Are there any other quick reports?
Dom, I was curious. So now Mira is developing kind of GUI and IO part, well, like that kind of allows other users to use SimPEG more readily and seamlessly. Is that part going to be commercialized then? And let's say if I want to use that part, do I need to pay Mira about the software stuff, like of that IO part?
Right. So the way we see it right now is that basically Analyst, yes, the pro version of Analyst will give a little bit like what GIF Tools is doing for the UBC codes, right? So it will give you basically a little pop-up menu button where you have drop-downs options, right, to be able to select objects and put your parameters and whatnot. And then when you click go, then we would be converting everything into a basically a JSON dictionary, like an input file. And then this would be given to a SimPEG script, or like, you know, like a script that calls SimPEG and then runs the inversion. So the part that is like, you know, the visual of it where people, you know, click buttons and stuff would be under a paid wall. But the code itself that runs the code, you know, that runs SimPEG is going to be on an open repo. So, you know, you could always replicate the UI if you want to replicate the UI. Yeah.
The reason why I asked, like, in here, we worked on 2-year project, and there's a follow-up that they would like to kind of make it more open and develop a user base. So they want to hire some software engineer that can further develop the SimPEG code. But I was kind of curious, like, so there are multiple ways that people are going, but I thought, like, it seems like people are repeating the same procedures. So I was hoping, like, if there's some sort of synergy that can be made, but yeah, I wasn't sure exactly, but I was just kind of curious, what's the barrier and what are the availability of what you're developing?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
I mean, at some point, you know, there needs to be some money generating part of this. So the idea is to draw people towards the paid version of Analyst by, you know, giving them an easy access point. All right, just a click button, like, I want to invert, I don't want to have to think about anything else. So that's where the paid wall comes in. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I mean, we could definitely collaborate on, like, you know, what's necessary for users, you know, what they need.
Yeah, and also there are probably some collapsing part that can be shared. Like, although that end product might be a bit different, but there could be a lot of, like, sharing part that we can potentially further develop the core SimPEG code.
Oh, the core SimPEG code is going to be absolutely all the efficiency is going to be fed back, right? Like, we're not planning on, like.
Yeah, so that's what I'm what I'm hoping. Like, they're hiring software engineers to do that and pay them. If you can actually develop the core code a bit better, and that would be win-win. Okay, good.
Yeah.
How flexible is the pricing of it? Do I have to get it for a year? Could I get it for a month?
Yeah, I started negotiating new scale structures, and it's considered, yeah, the monthly like subscription is, if it's just, the thing is that people don't really request it, but I think if there's a a market for it, they're not going to say no to it. You know? It's just a matter of flipping a switch on and off if people pay or not, right? Yeah, it's not an issue. We can cross that bridge if you need it.
And Sagi, what sort of development did this group have in mind? Is it sort of on core SimPEG code? Is it on IO utilities? Is it on
not necessarily? Like, I think it's focused on Airborne project that we've done, and basically allowing like what we have developed so far, make it easier for other, like a local water agency could potentially use with some sort of guidance of tutorials and stuff. So I think the big umbrella here, they want to find more sustainable kind of ish project, and doing an open source seems a good fit. So in the department level, they have some sort of initiative to do that, and it seems like they have some money to put it in to hire like maybe a software engineer. I'm not sure.
But Sag, we should talk offline, because we do this with a lot of other organizations. Is that if they want to have a specific product outcome, right? They can become a partner and get infinite licenses for analysts and get what they want, right? So instead of going blind and hiring someone, we could just merge the projects together, basically, right? It doesn't have to be
something like that. And Lindsay, I think it's sort of both, I guess. They are interested in further developing that AEM code a bit more efficient, and also having a bit of good IO code that like sort of graphic user interface that people can readily run the code and look at the data. So I think Rosemary is tired with using Aarhus product, so she wants to develop the new one. Anyway, so that's where we are.
That's good, because one layer I think that would be good, and it seems like this is quite timely to be thinking through, is kind of that IO layer and how far we go with SimPEG, and then what we give off to other people, because there are a lot of things that are quite useful and like simple utilities, that we've all written and they're kind of all over the place, and thinking through that a bit more holistically might also kind of help clarify some of these questions as to, like, even if if things go forward with Mira, but if they decide to also hire a software engineer as a part of this project, where would be like strategically very useful for everyone. Right now, I don't think we're quite organized enough around that. I don't think we're too far off. But if they were hired tomorrow, and I don't think we would have a clear sort of list of like, this would be incredibly impactful right now. So it might be worth kind of taking a step back and sketching out a bit.
Speaking of, are we going to revive the whole organization, the SimPEG organization, code of conduct, whatever we called it? We should finalize it, eh?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yes.
Yeah, I think I feel it's timely, and then if we can have something like that as an umbrella, it'll be much easier to kind of collaborate on that level. One interesting idea that I kind of learned from the conference was about the GRACE data. So in the beginning of this GRACE project, it was mainly like GRACE is used for mainly like monitoring the water storage in a large scale. And they were reluctant to open up the graded data. But actually opening up that graded data without worrying too much about misuse was actually a big game changer. Now, after 10 years, there are a lot of people using it. Although there are some misuse cases, but the kind of intensity of using it and kind of people recognizing how useful it can be was a big difference. I'm not sure. It's quite like a similar, but it seems like something like that on our end could be also useful, like because now there are a lot of like open magnetic data, gravity data, EM data in the world. So like thinking about kind of how to tie that into open source software and then what to provide as some sort of graded product, it seems like a good way to increase the visibility and also potentially the use of geophysics. Anyway, just a thought.
Do we want to set like a time to meet to discuss the organizational structure again?
I'm wondering if it's worth just regrouping a bit and then post something. I'm happy to sort of take a look and take stock again of where we're at with that conversation, and then maybe come up with a bit of a proposal for next steps before setting a meeting. Would that be all right with folks? Yeah, because I think
you push the ball.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. Yep. If you don't hear from me by Friday, feel free to ping and poke again, and we'll get things in motion.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
So we'll be on the lookout for that. Is there anything else anyone would like to discuss? If not, I think we can call it a day. Forward to seeing you guys all later. Again, if you want to hop around 4 o'clock on Friday, I'll be there. I'll put a link, you can hang, feel free to come or not.
See you on Friday. See you guys.
Bye, guys. Nice to see you, man.